Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're powering up for a really fascinating look into a critical piece of India's infrastructure and its economy, actually.
That's right.
Our focus, it's the huge energy landscape, but seen through the lens of one really monumental company, NTPC. We've been looking at a fireside chat that went deep into NTPC's stock, and our mission, like always, is to pull out the most important bits of knowledge, the key insights for you.
Basically a shortcut.
Exactly, a shortcut to getting up to speed on something pretty essential.
And it's worth remembering, this isn't just about stocks and shares, though that's part of it.
Right.
We're talking about the industry that, well, it literally keeps the lights on. It underpins almost everything in modern Indian life, from, making your morning chai to running massive factories.
Absolutely. Understanding NTPC means understanding a key driver of the country's growth.
You got it.
Okay, so let's unpack this company then. NTPC stands for National Thermal Power Corporation.
A bit of a mouthful.
Huh? Yeah. But it's not just some big player. It's a public sector behemoth, India's single largest power utility.
And the numbers really tell the story.
They do. Get this. It generates over 25% of all the electricity in India.
Wow.
Just think about that. Every fourth time you flip a switch, turn on a light, plug something in, it might just be NTPC behind it.
The scale is, well, it's kind of hard to grasp. Beyond just the market cap, which is huge itself, over 3 lakh crore rupees.
300,000 crores. That's massive.
Truly massive. Puts it right up there with the biggest companies in the country. Our source material didn't even really call it a stock, more like an institution.
An institution. That fits.
It's deeply connected with government strategy, gets strong backing, and its operations are incredibly stable. It's not just in the market. It feels like it's literally, plugged into India's growth engine.
Foundational.
It really is foundational. I like that analogy from the source. If IRCTC runs the trains, NTPC powers them.
That's a good one. And it also powers your fridge, your AC, your Wi-Fi, your oven, probably your ring light if you're making reels. It's just everywhere.
And if you connect that to the bigger picture, you see how essential, how non-optional energy is.
Totally.
I mean, you could probably survive a day without Instagram, maybe even a week without Netflix.
Maybe.
But try going without power for long. Suddenly, your Netflix pauses, your dinner plans change pretty fast. No doubt cooking tonight.
Back to basics.
Exactly. Back to reading actual paper books by candlelight.
Yeah.
It really shows how NTPC is, in a very real sense, running modern life in India.
Okay, but here's where the NTPC story gets really interesting now, because it's not just about that traditional thermal power anymore, is it?
No, not at all. They've been evolving quite significantly.
They've basically transformed into one of India's biggest green energy investors. They're deep into solar, wind, even hydrogen projects.
Which is pretty cutting edge.
Right. So this isn't your granddad's old school thermal-only utility company. It's definitely not a dinosaur.
And that shift is really significant. When a company of this size, this established, embraces green energy so heavily.
What does that signal?
Well, it signals a major shift, not just for them, but potentially for the whole energy sector in India. It kind of provides a roadmap showing how these huge traditional industries can pivot towards sustainability. It's a big deal.
I loved the analogy the source used here. It's like your dad, super reliable, always dependable, but then he suddenly figures out how to use ChatGPT.
Okay, I see it.
It's that mix, right? Rock solid reliability, but also this surprising forward-thinking innovation.
That captures it well, that blend.
So when you see that kind of fundamental strength in this forward movement, the next question is always, okay, how's it doing financially? How's the performance?
Let's look at the numbers.
The compound annual growth rates, the CGRs, they're pretty impressive. Over 5 years, it's 14%.
Solid.
3 years, 20%. 2 years, 32%. And then the last 12 months, get this, 70% growth.
70%.
Yep, you heard that right. The source playfully said it's been on a heater.
You could certainly say that. It's been performing incredibly well. And to give you a sense of the underlying stability here, the source, Surinder, uses this metric called the Sleep Easy score.
Sleep Easy score. I like that.
Yeah, it's basically his way of rating how much you can relax owning a stock. For NTPC, it's a 97 out of 100.
Wow, 97. That's high.
Extremely high. His reasoning, it's kind of like putting your money in an electric index fund. You're backing a fundamental utility. The only sort of tiny footnote he added was that, governments sometimes do.
Weird pricing things.
Exactly, weird pricing things. But given NTPC's scale, It's seen as a pretty minor point against its overall stability.
That weird pricing things bit, does that mean there's a cap on how profitable they can be? Or is there a risk if, say, the government decides cheap power is more important than company profits?
That's a fair question. It does bring in a little bit of regulatory risk, sure, but usually for a company this critical to the nation.
The government wants it stable too.
Precisely. Their interest is aligned with keeping NTPC running smoothly. And honestly, the source had a great line on this: if people actually stop using electricity.
The stock might fail, yeah.
But if that happens, you've got much, much bigger problems.
Like how to charge your phone or cook your Maggi.
Exactly. It just highlights how incredibly low the fundamental risk feels here.
Right. That strong performance, the super high reliability score. It all points back to this idea that even with that recent big jump, it's still fundamentally a long-term, steady kind of stock.
The tortoise, not the hare.
The reliable tortoise. Doesn't maybe grab headlines every day, but it usually finishes the race strongly.
So knowing all that, how might different people think about this? Let's map out some potential strategies depending on your investment style.
Okay. So for the classic long-term investor, someone looking out, say, 5 years or more.
The patient ones.
Right. For them, NTPC looks like a really safe bet. It's essential. It's consistent with dividends. The source called it your portfolio's battery backup.
I like that. Reliable power for your investments. Now, what about someone with a shorter view, maybe just 1 year?
Okay, 1 year out. Well, the thinking is if you happen to catch it during a dip, maybe around the 330 mark.
If it pulls back a bit.
Yeah, if it pulls back, there could still be decent room to grow, maybe up towards 400, perhaps a bit more. It might pause after the big run up, sure, but the fundamentals seem solid enough to support further gains, just maybe less volatile ones.
Makes sense. Steady potential, and for the really short-term folks, the traders.
Right, the traders, looking at maybe just 3 months. The current momentum is described as juicy.
Juicy momentum.
Yes. The suggestion there is maybe look to buy near 340, aim to ride that momentum up to 385, maybe 390. But crucially, keep those trailing stop losses tight. Manage the risk.
Standard trader discipline. Okay, and then there was one more. The lazy genius strategy.
Yes. Also called the UPS uninterrupted portfolio strategy for retail investors.
Okay, sounds intriguing. How does the UPS work?
It's actually really simple. The idea is just consistently buy a small amount every month, say 1,000 or 2,000 worth. Don't worry too much about the exact price.
Just keep accumulating.
Exactly. If the price dips, hey, you're averaging down your cost. If it keeps climbing, well, you're already in and benefiting.
So it's designed to be a kind of win either way approach over time. Reduces the stress of trying to time the market perfectly.
Precisely. Low stress accumulation for the long haul.
Got it.
So let's just quickly recap the big takeaways from this deep dive. NTPC, huge, almost monopoly-like position in power generation.
Check.
Strong government support.
Check.
Also, surprisingly, a major player now in green energy. Very innovation forward.
Important point.
Seen as being about as safe as an index fund. And, as the source cheekily put it, more relevant than coffee on Monday mornings.
Oh, love that.
Bottom line seems to be, this is presented as a stock you don't need to overthink too much if you're building a low-stress, long-term portfolio. It kind of deserves a permanent seat there.
That definitely seems to be the vibe. And thinking about all this, it does raise a broader, quite important question, I think.
Oh, what's that?
Well, when you consider NTPC's incredible scale and this dual role it's playing, being the bedrock power provider and a leader in green energy investment, what does that tell us more broadly? What are the implications for how other large, traditional, maybe even old economy industries can actually pivot towards sustainability?
While still doing their core job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
While still fueling national development. How do they manage that transition? It's a huge challenge, and NTPC offers a really interesting case study.
That's a great point. Definitely something for you to think about next time you flick on a light switch tonight.
Indeed.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope these insights were useful.